The cold wind howled across the barren surface of Planet XO3, whipping dust and ice crystals against the cracked visor of Jack Miller's environmental suit. His oxygen meter blinked red. 2 hours left. Maybe less, given the crack. The alien ship that had dumped him here was long gone, nothing more than a fading dot in the purple-tinged sky. Bastards, he muttered, his breath fogging the inside of his helmet. They'd taken everything from the research station, the supplies, the equipment, even his distress beacon. The aliens, tall, metallic-skinned beings who called themselves the Watchers, had decided that humans weren't ready for interstellar contact. Rather than kill him outright, they'd chosen to strand him on this frozen rock, probably thinking it more merciful. Jack checked his suit's basic scanner. Temperature, minus 70 degrees Celsius. Wind speed, 40 kilometers per hour. Atmosphere, toxic. The research station where he'd lived for the past 8 months lay in ruins behind him, its walls torn open like a tin can. He had no food, no water purifier, and minimal shelter. The Watchers had been thorough in their work. But they'd made one crucial mistake: they'd left him his tool belt. Jack wasn't just any researcher, he was a survival specialist, trained to stay alive in the harshest environments Earth could offer. Now he'd show these aliens what human ingenuity could do. He trudged through the swirling storm toward the only feature visible on the horizon, a range of craggy mountains that his team had nicknamed the Teeth. If his memory served right, they'd detected some strange energy readings from those peaks. More importantly, the mountains had caves, potential shelter from the killing cold. The trek was brutal. Every step felt like moving through molasses, the planet's slightly higher gravity adding to his exhaustion. His cracked visor made each breath a gamble. Was he getting enough oxygen, or was the toxic atmosphere seeping in? The mountains seemed to mock him, never getting closer despite his endless walking. Just as his legs were about to give out, Jack heard something. A low rumble, different from the constant wind. He froze, listening intently. There it was again, coming from beneath his feet. The ground trembled slightly. Survival instinct kicked in. Jack dove to the side just as the ground erupted where he'd been standing. Through the swirling dust, he glimpsed something massive, a segmented body, iridescent scales gleaming despite the dim light. The creature was easily 20 meters long, with multiple rows of legs and what looked like crystalline formations growing from its back. Rather than attack, the beast turned its head toward him, revealing compound eyes that glowed with an inner light. It studied him with what seemed like curiosity. Jack held perfectly still, his heart pounding. This was it, either death or possibly his only chance at survival. The creature lowered its head, bringing it close to Jack's cracked visor. He could see his reflection in those alien eyes, a tiny figure in a damaged suit. Then, unexpectedly, the beast made a sound, a low, harmonious hum that seemed to resonate with the crystals on its back. To Jack's astonishment, the vibration from this sound caused the crack in his visor to seal itself, the materials somehow fusing back together. The creature had helped him? He reached out slowly, placing a gloved hand on its metallic-looking scales. They were warm to the touch, despite the freezing temperature around them. "Well," Jack said, a smile forming on his face for the first time since the Watchers had left him to die. "Looks like I'm not as alone as they thought." The creature hummed again, and Jack felt the vibration travel through his suit, warming him from the outside in. He looked toward the Teeth Mountains, then back at his unexpected savior. Maybe, just maybe, he had found not just a way to survive, but a way to thrive, and eventually, a way to show the Watchers just how wrong they'd been about humanity. The journey to the Teeth Mountains took 3 days. Jack had named his massive companion, Rex, not very original, he admitted, but the creature seemed to respond to the simple name with pleased humming. The crystalline formations on Rex's back proved to be more than just decoration. They generated heat and a kind of bioelectricity that kept Jack's suit systems running. During their trek, Jack discovered more about his alien friend's abilities. Rex could burrow through the frozen ground with incredible speed, creating tunnels that protected them from the worst of the surface storms. The creature's body generated a field that somehow purified the toxic air around them, making a bubble of breathable atmosphere. It was as if Rex had evolved specifically to help others survive on this harsh world. "You're full of surprises, aren't you, big guy?" Jack said as they reached the base of the mountains. Rex responded by pressing one of his crystalline spines against Jack's suit, and suddenly, Jack could feel a presence in his mind, not words exactly, but emotions and images. Rex was trying to communicate. Through this strange connection, Jack learned that Rex's species once served as guardians for another ancient race that had lived on this planet. When that race vanished, Rex's kind went into deep hibernation, waiting for worthy beings to awaken them. The Watchers had visited this world many times but had never been chosen. Jack, however, with his determination to survive and his quick acceptance of Rex, had proven himself worthy. As they climbed higher into the mountains, Rex showed Jack something extraordinary. Within a massive cave, crystalline formations similar to those on Rex's back covered the walls, pulsing with soft light. But more importantly, the cave contained technology, not the sleek, sterile devices of the Watchers, but organic-looking machines that seemed to grow from the crystal formations themselves. "This is incredible," Jack whispered, running his hand along a crystal console that lit up at his touch. Through their mental link, Rex explained that this was a small outpost of the ancient race's civilization. The crystals weren't just pretty rocks. They were sophisticated computers, power sources, and environmental systems all in one. Jack spent hours learning from Rex about the crystal technology. It was fundamentally different from both human and Watcher tech. While the Watchers relied on cold, unfeeling metal and plasma, these crystals worked in harmony with living things. They could be shaped by thought and needed no tools to operate. Working together, Jack and Rex activated the cave's environmental systems. Within hours, the temperature rose to comfortable levels, and the air became breathable. Jack could finally remove his damaged suit. The crystals even produced water and a type of nutritious gel that his suit's scanner confirmed was safe for human consumption. But the most exciting discovery came when they reached the cave's central chamber. There, suspended in a massive crystal formation, was a ship. Unlike the angular, metallic vessels of the Watchers, this one was organic and beautiful, its hull grown from the same crystal technology that powered the cave. Through their mental link, Rex shared the ship's purpose. It was a sentinel vessel, designed to protect this sector of space from threats. The ship had sat dormant for millennia, waiting for a worthy pilot and guardian to claim it. Now it had both. A human with the determination to survive against all odds, and a creature born to protect. Jack placed his hand on the ship's crystal hull, feeling it hum with power. Images flowed through his mind, star maps, weapon systems, faster-than-light drives that worked on principles humanity had never imagined. The ship was accepting him, teaching him its secrets. "The Watchers thought they were leaving me here to die," Jack said, looking at Rex with a grin. "Instead, they delivered me right where I needed to be." Rex hummed in agreement, the crystals on his back glowing brighter. Together, they had found something more than just a means of survival. They had discovered a legacy of an ancient civilization, and with it, the power to challenge the Watchers' dominion over space. But first, they would need to master their new resources and prepare. The real work was just beginning. Weeks passed in the crystal cave as Jack and Rex learned to master their newfound legacy. The ship, which Jack named Phoenix, was more than just a vessel, it was practically alive. Through the mental link he shared with Rex, Jack could feel the ship's consciousness, a vast and ancient intelligence that had slumbered for countless years. "Easy now," Jack muttered, concentrating on the crystal control panel before him. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he tried to shape the living crystal with his thoughts. Rex stood beside him, the crystals on his back pulsing in sync with the ship's systems. They had discovered that when they worked together, their abilities were amplified tremendously. The crystal responded, growing and reshaping itself under Jack's mental command. What had once taken hours now happened in minutes. The ancient race had designed their technology to adapt to its users, and both Jack and Rex were proving to be exceptional students. Through the ship's database, they learned more about the Watchers. They weren't the advanced civilization they pretended to be. They were scavengers, using stolen technology they barely understood. They posed as gods to less advanced races, deciding who was worthy of joining the galactic community. In reality, they feared competition, systematically isolating or destroying any species that might one day challenge them. "No wonder they wanted to strand me here," Jack said to Rex as they reviewed the historical records. "They must have detected the energy signatures from this place. They weren't trying to abandon me, they were trying to keep humanity away from this technology." Rex rumbled in agreement, sending images through their link of other worlds where the Watchers had done similar things. The Phoenix's weapons systems were unlike anything Jack had ever seen. Instead of conventional weapons, it used concentrated crystal energy that could pierce any known shield. The ship's hull could regenerate damage almost instantly, and its faster-than-light drive didn't just bend space, it phased through it, making the ship virtually untraceable. But the most remarkable discovery came when Jack and Rex attempted their first mind-melded pilot session. As they connected with the ship's consciousness, Jack felt his awareness expand exponentially. He could see energy patterns across light years, detect the quantum signatures of distant stars, and most importantly, track Watcher vessels through their supposedly secure hyperspace routes. "They're systematically isolating Earth," Jack realized, watching the patterns of Watcher ships through the Phoenix's sensors. "They're setting up blockades in every nearby system, making sure humanity stays confined to our solar system." The implications were clear. The Watchers weren't just being cautious. They were preparing for something bigger. Rex shared Jack's concern, sending images of other civilizations that had faced similar treatment. The pattern was always the same: isolation, then resource theft, and finally, if the civilization showed any signs of advancement, complete suppression. Training intensified after that discovery. Jack learned to merge his consciousness not just with Rex, but with the entire crystal network. His body adapted to the ancient technology, his cells gradually incorporating crystal structures that enhanced his strength and speed. Rex, too, grew stronger, his natural abilities amplified by the crystal technology he was born to use. They ran battle simulations in the Phoenix's virtual environment, practicing combat maneuvers against replicated Watcher ships. The ancient race had left detailed records of Watcher tactics and weaknesses. Hours turned into days as they drilled repeatedly, perfecting their coordination and timing. "We're almost ready," Jack said one day, standing before the Phoenix's main crystal. His reflection showed how much he'd changed. His eyes now had a subtle crystalline gleam, and faint lines of crystal energy traced patterns under his skin. Rex had changed too, his crystals now pulsing with far more power than when they'd first met. The ship hummed in response, its crystal hull glowing with barely contained energy. Through their three-way link, Jack could feel both Rex's eagerness and the Phoenix's approval. They had become something unprecedented, a perfect fusion of human adaptability, ancient guardian instinct, and crystal technology. The time for hiding was almost over. Soon, they would show the Watchers that they had made a fatal mistake. They hadn't just failed to kill a single human, they had created something entirely new, a force that would shatter their dominion over the stars. The Watcher patrol ship never saw them coming. The Phoenix emerged from phase space directly above the massive vessel, its crystalline hull gleaming with accumulated energy. Inside the control chamber, Jack and Rex moved as one being, their minds merged with the ship's consciousness. "Let's introduce ourselves," Jack said, his voice resonating with crystal harmonics. Through their shared link, Rex projected an image of satisfaction as their sensors revealed the patrol ship's crew frantically trying to raise their shields. The Phoenix fired its first shot, not to destroy, but to disable. A precise beam of crystalline energy sliced through the Watcher ship's engines, leaving them dead in space. Jack had insisted on this approach. They weren't here for revenge, but to send a message. "Attention Watcher vessel!" Jack broadcast, letting his voice carry the harmonic overtones that marked him as a user of crystal technology. "This is Jack Miller, the human you left to die on XO3. I think it's time we had a chat." The response was immediate and predictable. The Watchers opened fire with their plasma weapons. The shots passed harmlessly through the Phoenix's hull, the crystal structure simply phasing out of sync with the energy bursts. Jack couldn't help but smile at their desperation. Rex rumbled, his crystals pulsing in time with the ship's systems. Together, they extended the Phoenix's sensor field, creating a perfect three-dimensional image of the Watcher's ship's interior. 50 crew members, all armed, all terrified. Their supposedly advanced technology looked primitive compared to the crystal systems Jack now commanded. "Your weapons can't harm us," Jack broadcast again. "And we've already disabled your distress beacon. You can either talk to us, or we can leave you floating here for the next patrol to find. Your choice." Minutes passed in tense silence. Finally, their sensors detected movement. The Watcher ship's command deck was opening its docking port. An invitation, or perhaps a trap. Either way, it was exactly what they had hoped for. Jack and Rex phased through to the Watcher's ship, their bodies now capable of using the same crystal technology that powered the Phoenix. They materialized on the command deck, facing a group of tall, metallic-skinned aliens. The Watcher's artificial environment suddenly felt sterile and lifeless compared to the living crystal technology they had mastered. "Impossible," the Watcher captain said, his metallic features contorted in what might have been fear. "The crystal tech was lost. The Guardians were extinct." "Surprise," Jack replied, letting crystal energy dance across his skin. Rex towered beside him, his massive form making the Watchers look small and fragile. "Now, about your blockade of Earth." The captain's response was to draw a weapon, a foolish move. Before he could fire, Rex's crystals pulsed once, and every piece of technology on the command deck shut down. The Watchers stood frozen, suddenly powerless in their own ship. "The age of your dominion is ending," Jack announced, his voice carrying to every corner of the ship. "You've ruled through fear and deception, keeping younger races isolated and weak. That ends now." Through their link, Rex projected images into the minds of every Watcher present, visions of their victims, the civilizations they had suppressed, the potential they had stolen. Jack added his own memories of being abandoned on XO3, but also showed them what that abandonment had led to, the awakening of powers they had never imagined humans could wield. "We're taking this ship to Earth," Jack declared. "Your crew will testify before the United Nations. The truth about your activities will be revealed to every species you've deceived. But first," Jack reached out with his crystal-enhanced senses, accessing the Watcher ship's database. As the captain watched in horror, Jack downloaded everything: patrol routes, base locations, technical specifications, and most importantly, the locations of other isolated civilizations. "Humanity won't be your victim," Jack continued. "We'll be your reckoning. The crystal technology doesn't just belong to us, we're going to share it with every race you've tried to suppress." Rex growled in approval, his crystals casting dancing shadows across the terrified faces of the Watchers. The Phoenix hummed in orbit above them, its systems already beginning to transmit data back to Earth. The first shot in their war of liberation had been fired, and there would be no going back. The age of the Watchers was about to end, and a new era of crystal-powered civilization was about to begin. Earth's combined military forces were waiting when the Phoenix appeared in high orbit, bringing the captured Watcher vessel in tow. Fighter jets scrambled, missile systems activated, and space defense platforms locked on to both ships. Jack had expected this reception. After all, he was arriving in an alien vessel with an even more alien companion. "This is Jack Miller, former lead researcher of the XO3 expedition," he broadcast on all frequencies. "I'm requesting an emergency session of the United Nations Security Council. What I have to show you changes everything we thought we knew about our place in the galaxy." The response was chaos. Military channels erupted with chatter, civilian networks lit up with sightings, and social media exploded with images of the crystalline ship hovering beside the metallic Watcher vessel. Rex sensed Jack's tension and sent calming waves through their mental link. Through the Phoenix's sensors, Jack watched Earth's leaders scramble to respond. Within hours, the Security Council was convening in an emergency session. But Jack had one more card to play before he descended to Earth. "To prove my identity and intentions," he broadcast. "I'm releasing all data from the Watcher vessel's computers to every major space agency and research institution on Earth. You'll find proof of their deception, their technology, and their plans for humanity. Review it quickly, we don't have much time." The data dump sent shockwaves through Earth's scientific community. Within hours, experts were confirming the authenticity of the information. The Watchers' lies were being exposed in real time, and humanity was learning just how close they had come to subtle enslavement. When Jack finally descended to address the UN, he chose to make an entrance they wouldn't forget. The Phoenix phased through the building's roof, its crystal structure becoming temporarily transparent as it settled in the main assembly hall. Rex stood proudly beside him as Jack stepped onto the podium, his crystalline enhancements visible to all. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jack began, his voice carrying that strange harmonic quality. "6 months ago, I was abandoned on a hostile planet by aliens who claimed to be our superiors. They thought they were leaving me to die. Instead, they delivered me to humanity's greatest opportunity." The hall was silent as Jack explained everything: the crystal technology, the ancient race that had created it, the true nature of the Watchers, and the coalition of suppressed civilizations waiting to be freed. Rex projected images to support Jack's words, showing the assembled leaders visions of both the threats and possibilities that lay before them. "But we have to act fast," Jack continued. "The Watchers won't take this lying down. They're already mobilizing their fleet. We have maybe 2 weeks before they attempt to quarantine Earth completely." "And what do you propose?" asked the Secretary General, her voice steady despite the extraordinary situation. Jack smiled, raising his hand. Crystal energy danced between his fingers. "We share what we've learned. The crystal technology isn't just a weapon or a tool, it's a birthright of all intelligent life. Rex's kind were created to guide worthy civilizations to this gift. The Watchers tried to prevent this, hoarding and suppressing knowledge they couldn't even properly use." He gestured, and the Phoenix projected a hologram of Earth surrounded by crystal satellites. "With your permission, we can begin implementing planetary defense systems immediately. The crystal technology can be taught to those who show aptitude, and I assure you, many humans will. We won't just survive the coming conflict, we'll lead the charge to free other civilizations." The debate that followed was intense but brief. Earth's leaders weren't fools. They could see both the threat and the opportunity before them. When the vote came, it was nearly unanimous. Operation Crystal Dawn would begin immediately. As Jack and Rex prepared to leave the UN, they received the first reports of other civilizations breaking free. The data they'd released had reached other suppressed worlds, and the Watchers' control was crumbling. A new age was beginning, sparked by one human's refusal to die and one creature's decision to trust. "They thought abandoning me was their safest option," Jack said to Rex as they boarded the Phoenix. "Instead, it was the mistake that will cost them their empire." Rex hummed in agreement, his crystals glowing with anticipation of the battles to come. 2 months after Jack's return to Earth, the Watcher Armada arrived, over 300 ships strong. They emerged from hyperspace in attack formation, their weapons primed to destroy the civilization that had dared to challenge their dominion. But Earth was ready. A network of crystal satellites now encircled the planet, their technology far superior to anything the Watchers possessed. More importantly, Earth wasn't standing alone. The Phoenix's data broadcast had reached dozens of suppressed civilizations, and many had already begun their own rebellions, armed with crystal technology recovered from hidden ancient sites. "They still think they can win through brute force," Jack observed from the Phoenix's control chamber. Rex stood beside him, their mental link now so strong they barely needed words. Around Earth's orbit, 50 crystal ships hovered, each piloted by humans who had shown exceptional aptitude for the ancient technology. Many had their own guardian creatures, awoken from hibernation chambers across the galaxy. The Watcher fleet's commander broadcast his ultimatum: "Surrender the crystal technology and accept isolation, or face extinction. You have 1 hour to decide." Jack's response was immediate. He opened a channel to every ship in both fleets, every communications device on Earth, and every suppressed civilization that could receive the signal. You gave me a choice like that once before, he said, letting his voice carry the full resonance of crystal harmonics. You left me to die on a frozen world. That was your last mistake. The Phoenix led the charge, its crystalline form blazing like a star. The battle that followed would be remembered for centuries. Crystal ships phased through Watcher weapons fire, their energy beams cutting through supposedly impenetrable shields. Rex's kind proved their worth as guardians, their natural abilities amplified by the technology they were born to use. But the true turning point came when Jack activated the master protocol they'd discovered in the ancient database. At his command, through the combined power of all crystal vessels present, a vast energy field emanated from Earth. As it swept across the battlefield, every piece of stolen technology in the Watcher fleet simply shut down. Your empire was built on theft and deception, Jack broadcast to the now powerless Watcher ships. You took technology you never truly understood and used it to bully younger races. That ends today. Through the crystal network, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. On dozens of worlds, suppressed civilizations were rising up. The Watcher's careful web of control was unraveling in real time. Without their stolen technology, they were revealed for what they truly were, scavengers who had grown too proud, too cruel. You have a choice, Jack announced to the stranded Watcher fleet. Surrender and face justice from the races you've wronged, or try to run with what little power you have left. But know this, the age of crystal technology has returned, and this time, it will be shared freely among all worthy civilizations. The surrender, when it came, was almost anticlimactic. The Watchers, stripped of their technological advantages, had no choice but to accept the new reality. Their empire, built on millennia of deception and suppression, crumbled in a single day. 1 year later, Jack stood on the observation deck of the new Crystal Academy on Earth, Rex by his side. Below them, humans and aliens from 100 worlds trained together, learning to use the ancient technology responsibly. The crystal ships they'd used in the battle had become the seeds of a new civilization, one built on cooperation rather than dominance. They thought abandoning me was a death sentence, Jack said to Rex, watching a group of students practice phasing techniques. Instead, it led to their own extinction as a power, and humanity's rise as something far greater than they imagined. Rex hummed in agreement, his crystals resonating with the Academy's systems. Through their link, they shared a vision of the future, a galaxy where civilizations grew together, where technology served life rather than suppressed it, where no species would ever again face the isolation the Watchers had imposed. The Phoenix hovered above the Academy, its crystal structure catching the sunlight. It was no longer just a ship, it had become a symbol of transformation, a reminder that sometimes the greatest victories come from the darkest moments of despair. A new age had dawned, born from one act of cruelty that had backfired spectacularly. The Watchers had abandoned a human to die, only to create the very thing they had feared most, a force that would unite the galaxy and end their reign forever.